Hi there, everyone. This is Kevin with the Spinistry. Going to do a quick demo. Well, quick, maybe relative, but as quickly as I can. Demo of how we come up with some of our routes using the tools available on the web. Uh, right here up front, if you don't have any interest in putting together your own routes and you've never gone, I wonder how I can do that, go ahead and shut this down right now. It's not going to apply to you at all. I've had quite a few people over the years. They've asked me how do I come up with my routes. I've kind of tried to explain it. It's really one of these things I have to show you and this is by no means the only way to do it. This is just kind of a quick thumbnail of the process I go through. Please don't waste your time if that doesn't interest you at all. Go ahead and go to RedTube or whatever else you waste your time on the internet with. Outside of that, let me just give you a quick update of how we go about this. Use some really basic tools, nothing real complicated. It's all easily accessible. The main site I work with to start the process, I fine-tune with some other sites, but bikeroutetoaster.com, www.bikeroutetoaster.com. It's a routing site. It utilizes Google Maps as the base layer maps. I use Google Maps quite a bit myself, also Google Earth. We'll get into that a little bit later, but at the moment, go back to Bike Route Toaster, and I've already zoomed into the area we're going to be looking at today. We're looking at doing a combination weekend towards the end of April for a Spinistry event, one day an endurance mountain bike event utilizing the trails at Lake Murray State Park. Another day using our same staging area, since we have the park for the weekend, maybe do a gravel grinder. And that's what we're looking at right now. Is it viable to do a gravel grinder out of that area? From some previous things I've looked at up that way, I know there's some dirt roads in the area. Most of the dirt roads that I've already scouted would be too far away for what we're looking to do directly out of Lake Murray State Park, but some of them are there that we might be able to use as a backbone, and we're going to see if there's other offshoots in the area. Lake Murray State Park itself gives us, we're working a little bit backwards this time. Usually I have an idea of the route that I want. I know where the dirt roads are connected, and then I look for things along that way to use as a staging area. Schools, businesses that have ample parking, things like that. Camping areas are great. Ranch houses to rent. Different things along the way that we've been able to use for our Spinistry events, but it's usually been the route that's limited us to where to look for a staging area. This time we have a staging area and we have to build a route around it. Okay, so a little bit different in that regard. That said, I'm not going to show you the whole process. I've done some scouting, actually, even physically today, and that's part of why we're doing this video demonstration, because I'm going to show you the process I went to do my physical scouting today, and then it'll show you the end result as well. But from some previous research on the internet using the maps, just real short, we're going to let you know this northern part here, just north of the park, up to Ardmore, over to Dixon, and so forth. Just from initial what's the word I'm looking for? Reconnaissance. Anyway, the words completely slipped me. Research. Thank you. That's the word. Initial research on the internet. I know that this is all paved up here, so we don't want to utilize this area to get to different things. Okay, from my previous exploration up in that area for other things that I was looking for, I do know that in this area here there's some pretty cool dirt roads all the way through Medill, actually south of Medill, and then all the way east over here, Lake Texoma stuff. This is too far away to utilize for what we're looking for our Lake Murray State Park weekend, but there is some neat stuff there that we may use someday. But I know there's some dirt roads in here, so we need to see if we can find a route that utilizes some of what we know and maybe find some new things as well. Also, again, going back to where we're somewhat constrained by our staging area. The area we're staging from is in Lake Murray State Park. This camping area here, Duke's Forest. So it's the far west side, kind of towards the north end as well, which means it's close to the area we don't want to be in. Alright, so we already know we don't want to go north. And we know the stuff we do want to do is over here. So we need to find a way through the south and over there. We know that much. Now, that's not going to give us a full route, but it gives us kind of an area to shoot for. What I usually like to do, zoom out a little bit and just look at the terrain and get an idea of, usually the shaded areas are wildlife management areas, parks, forested areas, things like that. That gives us some idea of where there's likely to not be people, and we like remote things. And then obviously the topographical relief as well. All through here we're seeing some hills, and we like hills. Hills make it fun. And some of the areas where you see more extreme, that might be something that I leap into because I saw where it looks like there was more severe elevation change, something we want to look at. And so at a glance I might zoom in on that area and get a sense if there's roads that go in and out of this. Now, glancing at this real quick, we see right away there aren't any roads going in and out of this. That's not unusual. Usually the most severe terrain makes it tough to have roads go in and out. But sometimes we get really lucky and there might be an old dirt county road or something that might meander through some of this, and we'll usually jump on that and try to find a way to incorporate it. That said, we see some other bits and pieces here. When you see curves in the road like that through a terrain area, that's usually good stuff. 90-degree turns like this, that's usually property lines and so forth. So it's somebody's property that mandates that sort of turn. But when you see curves in the road as opposed to 90-degree turns, that's usually a geographical feature that's making them change the road around. And usually those are some good things. So right here we see this Griffin Mountain Road. Mountain Road, that's a good clue. And it curves and it goes through some of this severe terrain change. And severe is relative. This isn't the Rocky Mountains or anything like that, but when you're in the Central Plains you take what you can get. Now that said, this Griffin Mountain Road specifically, that's part of what I already have been on before. I'm familiar with that road, and I know that's a good dirt road there. But I also know as we start to go east, we're getting a little bit further away than we really want to be from Lake Murray State Park. So we may consider that a little bit too far, because we start going over here and having to go up around Medill or something like that and back, we could easily be up over 100 miles round trip, and that's probably more than what we're looking for this time around. So at the moment, we're going to kind of consider that a western edge right now, because we know there's really only one road that goes through that. There wasn't a lot of stuff to play around, but there is some terrain up here that's fairly close to the park, some terrain down here that's fairly close to the park, and I know there's a little bit of dirt road action in here that we can utilize maybe to start connecting the dots. But we have to get over here from the western part of the park. So let's look at that. Also, from being to Lake Murray State Park, we'll go to the general map just to simplify it a little bit. This is the main park road, the 77S. 2-lane road, windy, hilly, not a lot of traffic. It's not a bad way to get to places, but it's not dirt road. So I'll start looking for splinters off of here that maybe aren't the park road, but near it, that maybe get us to some interesting things. So here's Duke's Forest. We really can't get over here into any of this, but it's also straight lines. That's usually an indication that it's actually kind of boring as well. But as we start to go down a little bit, down here past the airport, we're seeing, well, there's some interesting curves in the road here and here. It's like, maybe there's something in there. So I kind of glance at that, throw on the terrain features again. We got a little hilltop right there, so a little bit of terrain. This kind of weaves in and out through some terrain. That might be interesting. And there's a hilltop right there. That might have some possibilities. But right at this point, we don't know if this is paved or dirt road or what. So probably what we'll do at a glance. Zoom in a little tighter, as tight as we can with the terrain features. Terrain doesn't usually let you go too far in. You see there's a little bit of water there, a valley area here. And we'll go ahead and switch to satellite. And bada bing, bada boom, I see one of the things that I like to see. This light colored area here, that usually indicates a dirt road. As opposed to, and we'll zoom in tighter to get a better view shortly, this gray, usually pavement. Sometimes those can be gravel roads as well. But when I see those light colors like that, we'll zoom in. Yeah, see that's red sand, red clay. That's a dirt road. That's the kind of stuff we look at. A little bit of pavement there. So it's transitioning from pavement to dirt there. So we know that side has some dirt to it. That's a good thing. And then we go over here and zoom in. And where it was going up that hill, that looks like that's a dirt road too. Good stuff. We're zoomed in. We'll kind of follow the road. And it looks like maybe there's some transitional pavement, or maybe it's just mixed dirt. That definitely looks like dirt there. And red flag. We're zoomed in. Go back to our map. The road, there's no labels here. That usually indicates a private road or a driveway. It's still labeled here, but then there's no labels here. And then when we look at the satellite, it kind of stops at a house here and then goes into double track. That usually means that's private property. So we're probably going to bypass that. But go back to where we were seeing other dirt road. And let's zoom in on that. We've already looked at that. Following gas wells, oil pads, things like that, just from previous experience. Looks like a private driveway there, going into probably a nice farm operation. But here's the road. Go back to the map. Mitchell Road. Satellite. Follow Mitchell Road. Still light colored. There's another driveway coming back into it. That's probably that driveway that we thought was a road before, going all the way through private property. And transition back to pavement. And that's back on the main park road again. So we'll go back to the map. There's the 77S. So we could definitely leave Duke's Forest and follow the park road all the way down to start to get around to that east side. But if we take a slight detour through here, we start to get some dirt roads, make it a little more interesting. Or we may finish up this way as well, because this route looks like we're going to have to do a little bit of doubling back in and out of the park. So we might use the park road in and the dirt road out, or vice versa. Mix it up a little bit, because I want to minimize the double backs as much as possible. So we'll zoom back out a little bit. So we're going from up here down through this, around here. So we found our first little dirt segment, it looks like. All right. Now that's the process in a nutshell there of how you start to narrow things down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start to lay out the route, and I'm going to go ahead and hit some points that I've already found along the way. And this is the map I laid out before we went out. This isn't going to be a map I laid out after we went out today and narrowed things down. This is the map that we took out with this to start looking at things today. So we'll leave Duke's Forest, come down here. This is the main road off of 35 into the park. Turn in here. Oop, took it a little too far. delete last. Here's the turnoff. And just to let you know, we did go ahead and drive this road, and it was actually a very cool hill, straight shot. And yes, it went to private property there. It was a really, really cool hill. It'd have been nice to be able to incorporate that, but we're not able to. This does end up being also a pretty nice section. A good climb up through here. And then out. And what we also, and this is from previous, just going through the maps the way I just showed you, we know we want to come here through this area, out through here. Now I'm going to show you, we're going to go back into a little bit of the fine-tuning mode through this section here. Now this is all dirt road. This became pavement here. Alright, and remember what I was saying earlier about 90-degree turns are usually property lines, whereas curves are usually geographical features. Zoomed in too far there, sorry about that. Zooming back out. Okay, take it to right here. Now this is all pavement. At a glance, and this is one of my things I don't like about Bike Route Toaster. A lot of times you hit that plus sign and you end up zooming all the way in. At a glance, this through here was really light colored. I was hoping that was going to be some dirt road there, because we definitely have the curves through it, a little bit of terrain to work with here as well. See, that's a deep ravine there. So basically this road is going around that. A shallower ravine here. This road is going around that, but also going through parts of it. So there's obviously some up and down in that road. Ideally, we would look for that to be a dirt road, but you know what? Sometimes when it's a nice paved country road, that works out well too, because it's still a nice ride. And that's what this section ends up being. That's all pavement there. But it's still an interesting ride. So we're going to go ahead. And we're going to take this down to, it's all pavement as you can see. Zoom out. And we have a main road down here. 32. But it is in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so it's a high-speed road, but there's not much traffic, and it's straight. A little bit of elevation change through it. Show you that. A little bit of elevation here as it crosses Lake Texoma. There's definitely going to be a bridge here. I guess it's Wilson Creek here that feeds into Lake Texoma. A little bit of terrain here, but it is a straight shot and there's not much traffic. Perfect world, when we do have to use those sorts of roads, we want them to have shoulders, but we don't always get what we want. So we're going to zoom in. Here's the bridge over Wilson Creek. Look at both sides of it. Zoom in all the way. A little bit of shoulder there, but not really much to speak of. Actually, and that's just at the guardrails. You get into the pavement here, no shoulders. But we're also not seeing any cars. It is a low traffic road, it is a straight shot, and let me go back one. I'm going to delete last. We're going to start here. Look at our total mileage. Oh, that reminds me. You want to set it to imperial, unless you're really good at metric conversions, or don't need to do metric conversion if you're French or something like that. We go to our summary. We're at 23 miles in so far, 23.8. We go back to the map. Now, again, previous research online. I know I want to turn at either this road or this road. We have a little town here, it's Lebanon. The speed does go from 65 up here to I think 55 just on the other side of the bridge to 45 going into the town. So it does slow down. It's straight shot. It's a pretty safe stretch of road. I'm not concerned about that. And if we take the first turn off, we were at 23.08. Now we're at 24.81. So that's not even 2 miles there. If we end up taking the second turn, 25.51. So a little over 2 miles maximum on that stretch of road going through a town and all straight. And if we go back, we know we want to get up to that Griffin Mountain Road that we're already familiar with. We have this road to choose from or that road to choose from. And if we do the satellite view, that looks like it's gray. That looks light colored there. So that's probably paved. That's probably dirt, first impression. We zoom in, and there's our red dirt. And that sure looks like gray pavement there. Okay, so from a research standpoint, I'm going this way. I want as much dirt as I can possibly get. So we're going to go ahead and utilize that up to Griffin Mountain Road. And we knew we didn't really want to go this far east because we were getting further away from where we wanted to be. And we also know, then zoom back out, throw the terrain on it again. We know we've got some higher terrain up here in a wooded area or a less populated area here. So there's lots of terrain features there. So what we might want to look at this point, go back to the map so we can see our roads better. It's like, okay, so we know we get to Griffin Mountain Road, and we'd really like to keep going north. And looking at the maps here, we have a north going route here, a north going route here, and we can get to either one of them through Griffin Mountain Road. And again, let's zoom in a little bit, throw the satellite on it, and it's a straight shot, which we prefer to not get straight lines, but we're seeing our red dirt here. We go back to the left, the other north-south road was over here, and that's our gray road again. Looks like pavement. So, just to play with things, we'll start going that way. And we start to see some curves here. That's a good sign. And here. And there's our US 70. Ideally, we would just have a straight cut through there. We'll take it on up. And we're going to zoom in and see what the road looks like there. Because there is a road here that goes north. Let's throw the terrain on there again. And here was that terrain area. And it looks like there's a road over here. And this road that goes north from where we're at on the other side of 70. We can go up and over. And then start, and look at all this winding around this road does. That's a really, really good sign there. We want to get over there. So how do we do that? So we're going to go ahead and throw the satellite on there. Look at US 70. Plenty of shoulder. And that's dirt road all the way up to there. Look at that. So we're going to check our mileage again. First off, we want to see what our overall mileage is right now. We're at 35 miles in, 35 1/3 miles. Ignore the elevation, except for minimum and maximum. Ascent and descent on Bike Route Toaster doesn't line up with other programs I've seen. That said, from a ratio perspective, we do see we have some nice elevation change, and we've had a nice lengthy climb there. Just ignore the total feet of ascent and descent. That never lines up with any other program that I've used. It could be Bike Route Toaster is right and everything else is wrong, but Bike Route Toaster's numbers are usually a lot lower than everyone else's. So we'll go back to our map. Again, 35.3 miles in. We want to go down 70 some and then cross over to here. So we'll click on that. It auto plots. And now we were at 35.33. Now it's 35.81, half a mile. Half a mile of shoulder and cross the road on US 70. Zoom in. Plenty of area to hang out and wait on traffic if you need to and go on over. Plenty of shoulder both sides. Reasonably safe. Now this is paved here. Ideally that would be dirt at that point, but let's start going up the road and see what we run into. Zoom out some. Pavement, pavement. Well, there's a dirt road over to the left there. Where does that go? Nowhere. Dead end. The road kind of curves there. Oh, look at that. Dirt. Happy. More dirt. More happy. More dirt. And that's our crossover road that I do believe will look at the map again. Yep, Tiny Chapel Road. That's what we were looking at before when we were looking at the terrain. Crosses over here and picks up our terrain here. And at a glance, what I saw earlier, that looked like that was dirt. Let's zoom back in. Tiny Chapel is dirt. Down into this stuff here, dirt road. And it starts winding through all of that terrain. Look, and you can even see the terrain in the satellite. This is good stuff here. Look at that. All dirt. Now we're back down to US 70. Zoom in. We can cross right there. That's a straight cross. Let's look at the map, see where we are in relation to our whole route. I mean, as the crow flies, we're not far from the staging area, but we know we don't want to just take 70 all the way back there. From prior research, we know we don't want to spend any time up here, so we have to kind of come back down into this quadrant here. Now, there's some curvy stuff there that looks like it might be interesting. But we have to spend some time on 70 to get there. Either through this Red Everett Road or all the way and down. We have some curvy here, but that was our paved road that we identified earlier. But we also have some stuff through here that kind of gets us back towards the state park. So we might kind of look at things here. And we'll also throw the terrain on it for giggles as well. So a little bit of terrain in here. There's our right angles again, which we usually don't like to see. But the right angles themselves are going through some features. So there might be some possibility there. So we'll go ahead and throw the satellite on it, see what we see at a glance. And at a glance, this just popped out to me right there. We have some dirt right there. But there's that McMillan Road that was kind of curvy and cool looking. Zoom in a little bit. That looks like a neat road, but paved. And here's another one of those neat things we come across from time to time. What in the world is this? I'm going to guess a tree farm. That is my guess. That's a tree farm. Don't know for certain, but that's my guess at the moment. But also coming across something like that previously, I found an old World War II camp, and that was pretty cool. And that will be featured in this year's Red River Riot. Plug the Red River Riot right there. Alright, so here's that McMillan Road, paved. We got some dirt roads here, and we know this cuts through some terrain. So it's right angles, but it is going up and down. So you know what? Dirt, up and down, that gets my vote. So we'll come here. Looks like it goes back onto pavement. I'm going to go ahead and throw the terrain on it one more time. See what our options are starting to look like. We know we have to get back to the park, so we'll go this way. And, well, we could have come down here. Again, straight road, less than ideal. But coming straight down here brings us to Dublin back where we've been before. We want to minimize that. So we're going to go this way. And we have a couple choices here. We can go ahead and go all the way to the west and then take the park road around. And there's some obvious elevation change here. We can also, whatever this road is here, this Evans, Irville, Wren, whatever that is, Sort Road. Let's look at it in satellite. That looks like that might be some dirt, by gosh. Let's check it out. That looks like dirt. So we're going to go down this way. Get a little bit more dirt in. Take it down because I saw that there was a crossover to the park road down here somewhere. Looks like it goes to pavement there maybe, but here's a crossover. Brings us back to the paved road. Going along a dam. So we know we're going to do a little bit of doubling up. Originally we did this dirt road here, so we'll stay on the park road coming back just to minimize maybe not even a mile of covering the same ground there. Park road here, and then we're going to double what our initial few miles were and come back to Duke's Forest. So we're back to Duke's Forest. We're back where we started. Let's zoom out. And that looks viable. Go ahead and check the summary. What's our total mileage? 70.49 miles. That's not horrible. That's not horrible at all. We were looking for over 100K, so over 63 miles. I really didn't want to take it into the range of 100 miles. I thought that might be too much for a double weekend. 70.5 miles. I think that's got some possibilities to it. Now, not finalized by any means, but this is something for us to look at going forward to see what we have to work with. Now, all that said, driving this stuff today, this ended up being a pretty good route. We may play with it and fine-tune it, make it a little longer, make it a little shorter. Maybe if in our explorations we look around and we come across some feature that we really want to incorporate, we might alter the route a little bit to do that. Now, some of our scouting today, just to kind of give you a hint of how that works, a lot of times the scouting is just that, to check out a feature. With some of my playing around, I saw something that looked like it had some really cool potential. And I'll show you. This area here, this Greasy Bend Road. Throw the terrain on it. It's going right along the contours of some big terrain changes. A lot of times those are fun roads. You zoom in on it, satellite. That's all dirt road. You got a river here, And that was our stumbling block, because when you have a river, you got to get across the river. And this Greasy Bend Road looked really cool, but on my initial legwork, I zoomed in. First impressions are cool. We have a bridge here. Bridges are good. That's what we get across rivers on. But then I zoomed in on the bridge. A couple things I saw that made me start to wonder. A lot of turnarounds going on here. Usually if it's just a regular old bridge, people are going to drive across the bridge. You won't see a lot of turnarounds here. And you see some of the same kind of things over here. You know, obviously people come down here and fish or whatever. Okay? But the main thing I saw was right here. That looks like a blockade. So, that was kind of a red flag to me. But obviously there's a bridge there, right? So even if it's closed to vehicle traffic, could probably easily ride a bike over it. So that was part of the scouting. I wanted to go up there and check the Greasy Bend Road out and see the viability there. And I thought I think it was another mapping program. It actually had what looked like a roadblock up here when I looked a little further as well at the aerial photographs. Long story short, we did drive up here, and yes, this is blockaded. Definitely can't drive across it. Me and the dog, we started to walk across it. First thing we noticed was right in this area right here was a freshly dead dog. And I say it was fresh because it only had a few flies on it, and it wasn't smelling or bloated yet. But it was in a very odd position, just laying there right next to the bridge, and it had a couple beer cans with holes in them right on top of it as well. So that was a little bit of a warning sign. And then we walked down here, and there were about 20 shell casings. And also this whole drive up here through the town below it was less than impressive. Then as we crossed the bridge, just walking, it was solid. You could hear the bridge itself squeaking underneath our steps. But then when we get down here, from this aerial shot, it looks like a shadow. But that is burned out bridge there. Somebody built a fire on this bridge, and this whole area here is completely burnt out. And it looks pretty solid the rest of the way, but it's not worth the risk. So that little bit of scouting took that feature out of the mix. There was another bridge over on this side that looked like it might be pretty cool, and that's a good bridge. We drove over that, but in reality, a lot of times those bridge features and things like that are very cool. It's not worth the stretch. Here, I'll show you. Zooming out. This is the far end of where we're taking it now and getting 70 miles. Here was that bridge crossing over here, or over here. I'm sorry, here, or here. And if we crossed here, then we have to go all the way up over here and back down. So we were looking at an 85 to 90 mile route, and to incorporate things that aren't really all that cool. Now what this was hopefully going to incorporate with us for future reference, and we may still look at it. I think it's too far away. We're probably going to have to do a 100-mile route to fit this in, and I don't think that'll work for a double weekend. But there's some cool terrain up in here and some neat features that we want to check out. And it even comes down through this Tishomingo Wildlife Refuge area. But again, this is way too far out for what our purposes are. But we may do a ride out of Medill one day and get some really cool features in. There's an old Fort Washita, I think it's called. Civil War Confederate fort. That's pretty cool. Different things we can take in there. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble now, and these are the directions I go when I start exploring maps. Hopefully that gave you a good idea of how we set up our maps for future events. If you have any questions about it, if you made it this far, I would guess that you're pretty interested in this stuff. Definitely email me, call me, whatever. More than happy to share any information. Outside of that, we'll see you at the next Spinistry event. Have a great day.